Welcome to another episode of the State of the Bulldogs. It is Tuesday night following the tough Michigan State game. Boys, a lot closer than we probably anticipated. A lot of fight from our dogs, but ended up with the L. We'll get into that game. We'll get into the other games this past week against UNA and Texas Southern as well. But Mike, Grant, wanted to start it off talking about basketball, a little around the horn, your favorite newcomer. And newcomer is such an odd word to see. I don't even know if that's correct grammatically, but we're rolling with it. Grant, we'll start with you. Favorite newcomer so far?
Samford in the portal took a guy from Mississippi State and Vanderbilt, and then their best player turned out to be this random 6'9" forward from the University of Illinois Chicago, Jaden Brownell. He's been the most consistent over the first 6 games of the year. Started the last 4, 20 points against Mississippi College. He's had 5 games in double figures, again 19 points and 9 boards against Michigan State tonight in 27 minutes. So he's my guy to watch for right now.
Stud. Brownell. Learn how to say it, boys. Brownell.
There you go. Yeah.
Mike, favorite newcomer?
It has to be Brownell. I mean, exactly for the reasons that Grant said. The dude is on an absolute heater. We hope he can keep it up. It looks like he will. He just looks like a pure scorer.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been an absolute shocker. We just finished watching the Michigan State game, and he was the best player on the floor. But Trey Fort has also been really good. I'd say of the newcomers, obviously starter from Mississippi State. So if not the obvious, I'd go Trey Fort.
Yeah, no, those two have certainly stood out from the rest. Largest concern through 6 games. So we've gotten a fairly good sample size against lesser competition, equal competition, and greater competition. Mike, we'll start with you. Largest concern?
I would say post presence. I think as good as Brownell is, as he's slid into the starting lineup, he's not a big body, even for his height, both offensively and defensively. We've managed to rebound the ball pretty well, but offensively in the post, I just think that there's a lot to be desired there. And, hopefully in a league like the SoCon, it won't really come to bite us in the butt, but it might.
He has played a little bit bigger than he is. I think he has 9 blocks or 8 blocks so far in the season. So he's playing a little bit bigger and plenty of rebounds. But yeah, fair point, Mike. Grant, biggest concern?
Yeah, I was kind of leaning Mike's way. The same thing, kind of a defensive physicality and kind of rebounding, even though they kind of closed up the rebounding margin tonight against Michigan State. It's kind of just giving up those extra offensive boards and become, especially when you're not that big of a team like Brownell 6'9", Allen's block kind of gets pushed around a little bit for a guy who's 6'11", 240 or so. He needs to get a little bit stronger, and we've seen a little bit of that from his back to the basket game, but still I think it's defensively and rebounding the basketball, especially in big games like this where you're trying to limit every possession possible, and any offensive board is just a dagger, especially if they can respond with the bucket right after.
Yeah, that's true. And basketball is still an old man game in college, and we got to remember Riley's a true sophomore. So if he keeps getting stronger, because he certainly needs to get stronger, he might be a freak come senior year. But we got a ways till then, and this year for sure. That is the glaring weakness so far. All right, biggest strength through 6 games. Grant, we'll start with you.
Same thing we saw last year. It's the depth of this team, right? Samford was one of the top teams in the country in bench points last season. They're around 12th or 11th in the NCAA coming into tonight, and you've got guys, especially with Lukas Walls' emergence, who we saw tonight. He was one of the best players on the floor. I think played his best games as a Samford player. 23 minutes, 12 points, 4 assists. He was moving the ball well, rebounding, also getting in there and scoring at multiple levels. So I think it's the depth of this team that we've seen. The bucket can roll out so many guards. It's just a matter of which guy gets hot at a certain time, which we didn't see much of that tonight. But as you get against competition that you're more familiar with closer, it's just a matter of which guy steps up and gets more shots. And especially everybody made some in the Texas Southern game. So I think it's just the depth of this overall team.
Mike, biggest strength?
Grant and I are not a very fun around the horn combo. I'm going to say the same thing. Got to be the depth. I mean, we play like 12 guys any given night, and it's just, any night it could be somebody else's chance to shine. That's always kind of been Buckyball's way, and it seems like throughout the season, as we get into SoCon play, he'll probably settle into a rotation of 8 guys, which is kind of what happened tonight against Michigan State. But it's just fun to see guys develop, see new guys come in and kind of fit within the scheme.
Yeah, one concern that we always have right in this portal era, Buckyball especially playing so many dudes, is we weren't sure how fast this team would gel. Fairly or unfairly, guys, I think that the way they've played through these first 6 games, they've kind of set it, especially with the Michigan State and UNA games. They've kind of set a new expectation that we should not be losing any kind of game against teams like a Texas Southern or a West Georgia coming up. And that wasn't necessarily the case last year, where we dropped some that we certainly shouldn't have, and we kind of excused it away. Do you all think that the level of play so far this season has set a new expectation, or am I off there?
No, I don't think you're off, especially with guys that are coming back. There were not many guys returning. It's just a matter of which guys can step up at certain moments, which we saw over the past couple of games, especially at North Alabama and that basically high school gym you're playing up there in Florence. So you had that going on. But I think you do raise a good point. It's just a matter of how much we can see this team grow. We saw the same thing last year, right? Kind of a slow start, obviously playing Purdue and VCU, 2 tough teams, and then turning that around and winning 17 straight. So it's just a matter of, again, they're finding that right kind of mojo, kind of rotation.
Yeah, I'm not necessarily expecting a 17 straight win streak, but I mean, I think just even that Cornell game showed us that this team is probably further along overall. I don't think the offense is further along. I think we still get mucked up plenty. There's still not a lot of the Michigan State game was a perfect example where we probably are down to the last possession of that game if the offense didn't come to a crawl there for about 15 or not 15 minutes, but about 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So that's a huge area of improvement, but it is interesting. This team is playing at an elevated level that I didn't expect to see. And maybe I'm putting too much stock in the close Michigan State game when I thought we would get blown out. I mean, that the on-paper roster for Michigan State is absurd. The fact they got a 5-star coming off the bench in his second year, I mean, give me a dadgum break. Man, Izzo, they got to put that together. That's a national championship caliber roster that is kind of flubbing around. Who knows?
Yeah, Izzo was very. We'll get into it when we get about the game, but Izzo was very complimentary of Samford afterwards. Said the game was everything he thought this would be and more with this test Samford presented, especially with like the prep that goes into prepping for a team like Bucky. I think Samford has done a heck of a job. It'll help us than them. You don't find many teams that press on makes and misses like they do. So again, just another expectation. You should just call it Bill Self, but hey, what should I experience going in, right? But he was extremely complimentary once we get into more like the specifics of the game tonight. But
yeah, I like this team. I pulled a few stats. A few stats everybody knows. Leading scorer, assists, steals, blocks. So our leading scorer is Jaden Brownell. Shocker, right? Going into the game, he was averaging about 15 points. I think that ticked up because he scored over 20 this game. Rylan Jones, 41 assists. Steals and blocks combined. So I wanted to see kind of who was creating the most turnovers. Larry, 15, but Brownell's right there. So, Michael, speaking a little bit to what you're talking about, he does show up on the defensive side of the ball more than we probably thought, because that surprised me. I think he's just one less steal/block behind Larry. And then threes, Brownell's leading the team, took over against Michigan State. Going into the game, interestingly, Rylan Jones was leading with 11, which speaks to something we were talking about before, but Trey Ford has stepped up. Lukas Walls has stepped up. But the guard play overall, outside of the point position, especially when it comes to scoring, has been fairly lackluster, or it's just been more sporadic than maybe we would have thought.
Yeah, no, I think it's consistency, and while it's great to have as deep of a roster as we have, we need guys that can come and show up every night, and that's what we're not really getting out of the guard play. Whether it's shooting threes, whether it's not turning the ball over. I think defensively we're pretty sound at the guard position, but offensively,
we get a little out of position in the zone. there's a few too many open threes, it seems like. And not just against Michigan State, against some of these other squads too. But
No, you're right. They have kind of struggled a little bit defensively, and this was after Texas Southern. Bucky, I asked him what he wanted to see like defensively coming into the game tonight. He gave me a 2-minute answer, basically just like ranting about how these guys need to improve on defense. I won't read it all, but here's just a little bit of what he said. Quote, "We have got to guard through the clock. It's simple as that. We finally got our pressure going and the pace and defense where we want. We still want more more full court traps and dictating the pace. Just the mental intensity has got to be better. That doesn't mean that in the half court we relax. You got to be able to stop teams all the way through the clock. And you saw that late in that game. We said it was okay just to get beat off the dribble. I'm tired of watching your guards get destroyed off the dribble. I'll just say it. That's a challenge to them." End quote. Then he continues going on about the North Alabama game, just kind of venting on where they needed to improve defensively.
we give up the baseline too easily. We don't stop the ball well, and it's so true that the tenacity is not nearly at the same level as last year's team when it comes to just beginning of the shot clock to the end. We got one shot clock violation against Michigan State, which was nice. But frankly, even against a team of that caliber, we should be getting 2 or 3 just because of how the style of play we have allows us to expend so much more energy defensively than other teams probably can. So defense has got to step up. But I think you're right. I think they're playing well overall, especially for early in the season. But room for improvement.
Yeah, I mean, Bucky's clearly said, he's made comments about effort, both defensively and offensively, in terms of guys getting in the gym and staying in the gym, putting in that extra work. I wonder, and we've made these comments in the past, but when you play as many guys as you play early in the season like this, you've got so many new guys on your roster. How do they mesh defensively? Because defense is all about communication and talking to each other, especially when you play that style where you go from like a 1-3-1 to a 2-3 to man to, you're switching around all the time. You've got to be able to talk to each other. And just wonder how much of that comes down to communication with the other 4 guys on the court and just knowing how to play with one another, depending on who you're with.
No, that's a good point. Okay, here's some fun advanced stats for y'all. It kind of reiterates what we've discussed so far. So there's an efficiency stat that essentially takes points, rebounds, assists, steals, blocks, missed shots, and turnovers into account. Unsurprisingly, Brownell leads the team by a wide margin. He has a score of 122. Rylan Jones at 84, Riley Allenspach at 67, Lukas Walls at 59, and Trey Fort at 57. Those are the 5. Those are the top 5. So kind of a wide disparity once you get past Brownell and Jones. And then even from Brownell to Jones, it's a pretty significant drop off. Brownell is killing it, absolutely killing it thus far. It's funny, Trey Fort's at 57. He could be in the 60s if he could shoot a free throw. The dude is shooting 56% from 3. My goodness, Trey, get in the dadgum gym. That's like, you can do that if you're a 7-footer. You cannot do that if you're a guard. So no excuse there. But interesting that those are the top 5. If I'd asked you after this game who you thought the top 5 players were, would anybody on this list surprise y'all?
No, I mean, those kind of Brownell, obviously, we kind of talked about that already, just like his addition to the team. We got Rylan, you always expect up there, then then Riley, especially, and then Lukas got some exciting whites up there near the top of this list. But yeah, it's just cool seeing those guys kind of step up, and Brownell especially, which we keep harping on.
Yes. Mike.
Run through the list again.
Brownell, Rylan, Allenspach, Walls, and Trey Fort.
No, I'm not really surprised at all.
Not surprised to not see Colin Holloway.
Maybe Colin Holloway, but I feel like he's kind of struggled the last couple.
Julian Brown. He was so efficient first few games.
I think Julian Brown brings, I don't have his stats in front of me, but he brings a senior presence, but he's not really putting up numbers.
Yeah, he's fallen off. He's fallen off last game.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Last 2 of 3. No one fell off against Texas Southern. My goodness.
He looked really bad his first couple minutes until he got pulled out, and then he went back. He looked good. Like, it looks like he almost got benched for a few minutes, and then he was all right, I'm good to go.
Yeah, he only played 11 minutes against Southern, 15 tonight. Did have 24 minutes and 15 points against North Alabama, but yeah, all in all, it's kind of seen kind of at a slow last couple games.
So now let me give you the plus minus though on the season. All right, so Trey Fort now number 1. Okay, 63 plus 63. Brownell plus 57. Julian Brown plus 55. I think that UNA game is probably consisting of the bulk of that figure for him, but still impressive. Rylan Jones plus 50 and then Allensbach plus 49. Interesting now. So Lukas Walls out, Julian Brown in. It seems like we have our top 4, and then a little fudge there in 5 between Lukas Walls and Julian Brown. But I mean, the stats speak for themselves through 6 games, a wide array of competition. Those are the names, which I have 2 thoughts on that, but I want to hear overall how that makes you feel. Are you excited? Is this a good sign? Is this a bad sign? Are there what are you reading into these figures as who has stepped up thus far and who hasn't? Maybe more importantly.
I think it's more of Brownell's kind of grown defensively. Like you mentioned, the number of blocks he has, plus 57. It's really added some value defensively. It's a defensive rebound, a little bit of toughness that we've kind of haven't seen out of Allensbach just yet. You got him down there. A little surprised that Colin Holloway's not up here, but I think it's more of just him trying to find the role in the team of kind of being like the go-to guy and then kind of struggling a little bit on offense and then providing some on defense, but it's just the offensive game that's going to take a little bit of time. Other than the Cornell game, going to take a little bit of time to kind of get up to speed with how he is on defense.
Sure. Mike?
Yeah, so you were running through the plus minus of each player to date.
To date.
I mean, wouldn't the guys that play the most minutes probably just have the highest plus minus, given that we've played some pretty crappy teams mostly? Am I under?
Kind of. So I think that there's been enough. I think there's been enough because this includes Michigan State. It includes enough levels of competition to give a fair outlook. You're right, though. We have played some bottom feeders in Mississippi College and Texas. Well, we didn't think Texas Southern would be as much of a cakewalk as it turned out to be, but it was. But then you have UNA and Cornell, which were tight.
Yeah.
So, I think there's enough of a sample size to get a good feel.
It's interesting that Josh Holloway is not on those lists because,
and he's not super far off on some of the. There's a lot of clusters after this, right? Right. Frankly, no one is standing out as a giant negative. But actually, now that I say that, let me go see if anybody is negative.
Yeah. Where does Josh sit on?
So shockingly, I say that facetiously, Isaiah West has the lowest plus minus on the team at 19. And Josh is right there, second to last at 32.
Okay.
To put that in perspective, Larry's at 38, and Larry has only played 66 minutes as opposed to Josh's 111. So,
nice.
Yeah, that's not great. In fact, I would be curious to see if you divided, I don't know if this would tell you anything, but if you divided the minutes by the efficiency score to give a kind of a more, it wouldn't be weighted. You'd have to do, I'm getting a little ahead of myself. I've not thought this through until this second. You could do a weighted average, though, which would be interesting because Trey Fort and Rylan Jones have the most minutes at 144 and 137, followed closely by Colin Holloway. And so Colin's lack of output is really dinging his efficiency score because has the third most minutes on the team, right? So it would be interesting to dig a little bit deeper, but going back to the point, Holloway's down there at the bottom. Josh, that is. Him and Isaiah West.
Yeah, that's just with Josh, it's just the mixture of the really highs and then the really lows. Like, oh my gosh, this kid could be the best player on the team. And then there's the other lows, yes. Like, oh my gosh, bro, what in the world?
Is unreal, dude.
Are we doing, sir?
And it's every game. It's every game where there are moments of, wow, he's the best player on the court. And then it's like, wow, That was the dumbest play I've seen today.
And it's typically
get him out
together. It's like he'll do something incredible, and then the very next possession he'll
because man, the UNA game we were up 8, and then he comes in and 2 quick turnovers. They make a couple threes, cut to 2. It's like, oh my gosh, please get him. It's almost like, okay, there's a bad spur. You got to get that out of the way first, and then get the good in. It's just a young player trying to find his footing and maybe getting a little bit too ahead of himself, kind of keeping that high turnover rate he had from last year a little bit. We're on the same path, but
his numbers would be a whole lot better, boys, if he wasn't shooting 2 for 12 from 3.
He did.
And the one he made was tonight.
Today, yep.
Yeah, that's a problem. But
oh gosh,
they shared that one stat that was incredible. He's top 10 in the nation in steals, or top 20 in the nation in steals. He had 2 steals tonight, so he probably stayed within the top 20, top 25. But he plays hard defense. I mean, the kid is super athletic, as we see every week. But again, he's a sophomore. Like Lukas, Allenspach, Holloway, if they continue to play together, imagine what senior year could look like if they stay. So just an interesting – go ahead, Mike.
Well, I know we haven't really gotten to the Michigan State game yet, but the last couple of minutes of that game, Lukas and Josh Holloway were the 2 guys that were on the court, I think, both ways. When we're playing the offense-defense, Josh Holloway was in the game the whole time. So it says a lot about, what Bucky believes in, regardless of the turnovers and missed shots. I mean, he's got a place in Samford's offense.
For sure. I mean, Bucky values athleticism, and those 2 guys are they're not freak athletes. We saw some freak athletes from Michigan State tonight, but they're not too far behind. All right,
they're SoCon level freak athletes.
They're SoCon freaks. They're SoCon freaks for sure. They're college basketball,
which is great. Yeah, which is great.
Yeah. All right, let's get to UNA. So it's funny, I told you boys, get your Tums ready for that game in the preview, and my goodness,
that was pacing.
We almost gave that game away. Oh my goodness, that was not. If you were looking for a nice, easy dub, low stress, watch our boys get out there, run the floor, you're probably feeling good in the first half. Halftime score, 56-37. We were looking good. Our group text is going off. We look strong. This team is so good. And then the second half happened, where it was a literal complete flip. UNA won the second half 51-32. How crazy is that? How crazy is that? In the second half, they shot 50% from 3.
Yep.
Granted, only 5 for 10. It wasn't like they're 10 for 20. But still, 50% from 3. This is why we won the game. They only shot 60% from the free throw line. We lose this game if they could buy a free throw.
Yeah, neither team can make a free throw.
But we know that about our team. Our team forever has not been able to hit a free throw until, hopefully until the SoCon tournament. I don't know why is that? Why are free throws we should have an 80% free throw percentage as a team. Why are we in the 70s?
I'm gonna check where we were last year. While we did.
Yes,
72%, which was 180th in the country per KenPom.
That's terrible. We're Samford. What are you gonna do? You got to squeeze every ounce of advantage out of a game, and free throws are the lowest hanging fruit.
Yeah, AJ led last year with 83%. Mm-hmm, yeah.
Wonder if you find a stat that's like relation of 3-point percentage to free throw percentage.
We're the bottom.
Probably bottom of the country.
The free throws are too close. I don't know what to tell you. Like mid-range games is are so stupid. Yeah, we don't need a lot. Like Nate Oates, mid-range games are stupid. Yeah,
it is anti-buckyball to shoot the mid-range.
That's pointless. Yeah, why take 2s when 3s are worth more?
But anyway, so this UNA game, how worried were you all? I mean, Jakari Lane could not be stopped. That kid is so good. Why didn't we get him? How in the world did UNA get him?
That goes into that Bucky rant I told you about on Sunday, which was basically just talking about at the UNA game. He did mention Jakari Lane by name, which is pretty funny. I had to kind of laugh on the inside, but let me find it real quick. But yeah, he was Yeah, I said, I hope they all watch this. I'm tired of watching another team's guards just cut us off the dribble. I watched Jakari Lane destroy all of our guys off the dribble up there in North Alabama just over and over. I say that because as a player, that would bother me if I was a player. We have to get more pride in defending the basketball. And yeah, Jakari was just slicing and dicing, ended up with what, 30?
32.
Yeah, 32. Yeah. Yeah, 10 of 24.
He's a homegrown talent. So he's from Huntsville, has been at UNA his first 2 seasons. That kid needs to hit the portal. He could get paid. Get paid. Like, he's such a good basketball player. He was doing it all. Put the whole team on his back.
It just goes back to
he was there.
Yeah, it just goes to defensively not locking in and kind of giving some easy buckets, and which was a big reason why they won the second half by almost 20.
He played 43 minutes. 43. He was still toasting our dudes in the second half. 43 minutes.
He played all but 2 minutes.
That is absurd. Absolutely absurd.
But yeah, that was one of those games where it's like, oh my gosh, we somehow came out with a win. Just forget about it. Move on to the next one. But
we were fortunate to come away with a victory. We played well enough in the first half to justify a victory, and then poor enough in the second half to justify a loss. So fittingly went to overtime, got the dub. It seemed like every time we were out of it, Rylan Jones would put the team on his back, come up. He had some incredible drive and passes or drive and dishes when we needed offense late in the second half and in overtime. Without Rylan, we lose this game. We don't even make it to overtime.
He did,
and also make a free throw. If we make free throws, we don't go to overtime.
Yeah,
Rylan did turn the ball over a lot late in the second half. Not all of those turnovers were his fault, but he showed his veteran status in overtime and made some clutch plays.
Yeah, I mean, he only had 4 turnovers the whole game, but I think 2 of them came late.
2 or
and
3.
Then what made it worse was even if UNA didn't capitalize, we then wouldn't make the free throw to capitalize to keep the advantage. So just a terrible end to that second half. But we got the win. We got the win. A win is a win is a win is a win.
It just couldn't make it easy on us. Yeah.
No. And I think it gave us a little more heartburn going into the Texas Southern game. But that game, we coasted. Everybody played. Everybody shot. Everybody made it. Second half was not as one-sided, but I think a lot of that had to do with, the intensity kind of falls off. You're playing a lot of guys. Let me go to the minutes on that one. But that game was just it's everything we wanted it to be and not necessarily what we expected. Yeah,
back to one more thing on the UNA game. Did have guys in foul trouble too. Colin only played 18 minutes.
That's right.
He played 18 minutes. Rylan had 2 fouls. Pauly came in, provided a good 4 minutes there in the first half. Like, that's how stretched you're getting down to Pauly playing in the first half, which is pretty good. But yeah, still with Southern, everybody was making shots. Everybody.
We had 12 guys with over 10 minutes. Even Brady Boyer got 9 minutes. Great. That's great. I mean, almost 13 guys getting double digits playing time will only bode well for the latter half of the season. And as I said, everybody's making threes. We were 20 for 44 from 3. Guys, if we were 20 for 44 from 3 against Michigan State, we win by 10 points.
Yeah.
Like, that's how, or more. That's how absurd that is. Do y'all have any comments on Texas Southern, or do y'all just want to get to Michigan State?
Well, before we get to Michigan State, because this didn't happen against Michigan State, but what's up with Colin Holloway and his foul trouble? Because he fouled out, is that 3 games in a row that he fouled out?
That's right. With Cornell, UNA, he fouled out with like 5 minutes left.
Cornell and Texas Southern.
Yeah, Cornell was late. UNA was like 5 minutes. Like, oh no, what are we gonna do now? But yeah,
maybe he has a little more Jermaine Marshall than we thought.
It's perplexing because
you
watch the game, and I'm like, because I'll be honest, I had to watch the UNA game Saturday morning, and I saw that he fouled out. And I'm watching the game, and I'm like, when does he accumulate these fouls? Because you're watching it.
It's
he really
true.
Doesn't commit a lot of fouls. Like,
yeah, he doesn't. He's just
are they just like putting it on the wrong number?
I mean, between Rylan and him, they're going to be put up against usually the primary scorer on the team. They're going to be more prone to pick up the fouls to begin with. It's not shocking, but I mean that UNA thing will be as ticky-tacky as the Cornell game. Michigan State was probably the complete opposite from an officiating standpoint.
Yeah.
But you're right, Mike. It is odd, and it hurts his. That's another thing that's probably dinging his efficiency
The
score.
flow. Yeah, you can't get in the flow.
Something to monitor, because we talked. That was one thing, or one more thing on the UNA. Going back to UNA, that we were talking about during that game was this was the first time we really saw Colin come in as the guy to get baskets when we needed him to, and he did, and he looked really good doing it. But then we fast forward to Michigan State, and it's like, where did that guy go? He looked lost. I mean, when you got Michigan State super athletic squad, all their guys can run, jump. I was like, holy crap, this is a good team. Obviously, we knew that. But what surprised me was who got lost in the shuffle and who rose above. Going into this game, I would not have picked Lukas Walls to be the guy that rose above. You know what I mean? I would not have picked Riley Allensbach to kind of get lost in the shuffle. Granted, he kind of got hosed by the ref there in the second half. Ticky-tacky. But I certainly would not have picked Colin Holloway to be in that group either. And sure enough, from the very get of the game, you got guys like him just not knowing how to play against competition of this level, even though I'm sure he did at some point in his career at Tulane.
Yeah, you just need somebody outside. Lucas provided you 12. Holloway, a lot of those points are late 14 points, but you need somebody outside of those guys, outside of Jaden Brownell with the guards, like with Mike talked about at the beginning of the show with Trey, Julian, and Isaiah. Trey 0 of 5 from 3. Julian only played 15 minutes, but I think Trey's really kind of the guy. He's the X factor. He's really the guy that kind of makes this team take another step. The same way we saw Jaden Campbell kind of take that step last year. He's kind of the guy to watch out for. He was 0 of 5 from 3 tonight. 4 boards, 4 assists, a couple turnovers. But yeah, if he's on, Samford's going to another level. So yeah, you just need one more guy to step up, kind of outside of those two.
And I wouldn't even call it stepping up. I think it would just be playing to the level they've played all season. I mean, Trey Ford outside the first game of the season has been one of our best scorers. Rylan Jones.
Yeah, and he was 1 for 8 tonight. 1 for 8.
Yeah, 1 for 8. And that one shot was a probably ill-advised mid-range jumper that he absolutely nailed. It looked great, but it's not Bucky's style.
I think he actually had one of those against Mississippi College, and my first thought was, oh gosh, these guys think they can shoot mid ranges. Buckle up, you can't.
Yeah. 2 point
Brown 1 for 3.
Yeah, Julian.
Yeah.
Colin Holloway 2 for 7. I mean, you have Trey Ford, Colin Holloway, Julian Brown. 3 of your on paper primary scorers collectively make 4 baskets. Guys.
And you lost to a Big Ten team by 8. Yeah.
He's not a scorer, and Lukas Walls made as many baskets as those 3 cats combined. That's not good.
Back to Colin Holloway, because he was like our biggest, what we thought was the biggest get out of the portal and preseason all SoCon pick. I'm wondering in this game he just, because his only points were from 3. He hit 2 threes, and that's not really his game. I feel like his game is more like almost in the post. Yeah. Like he's not the tallest player, but he's got a big body and a big presence, and he's got great footwork, and you're just not going to do that against the Michigan State defense. So just wonder if he just didn't know how to fit within the offense when we really couldn't penetrate other than some backdoor cuts.
Yes, he contributed nothing.
If there's one thing you were worried about him coming over and playing this style, it was shooting the 3, and he talked about that. I think after the Rhodes game, just like trying to improve in that area. But for him to for those to be his only points from outside were something you definitely wouldn't expect, and that could be a good sign going forward once you get down into SoCon playing. And he can kind of impose his will against some of the smaller guys he'll be playing against.
Yeah, it's certainly something to watch. He had the worst plus minus of the night, minus 17. He played 30 minutes. That surprises me because I don't think I noticed him at all on the court. 30 minutes. Ryland was the only outplayed him by 2 minutes.
Team 2 run.
What was that, Mike?
I said maybe he was in there when Michigan State went on a 15-2 run in the first half.
That was brutal. It was really like a 25-5 run.
Yeah,
It
something
was
like that.
insane. God, just imagine if we played a little bit better in that stretch.
Yeah.
Totally different ball game, because it definitely settled down to where Michigan State had a comfortable 8-point lead, and we couldn't really get past that line. But it's because they kind of set that in stone with that 25 to whatever run or 30 to whatever run in the middle of the game there, which killed us.
Yeah.
Killed us.
Yeah, Bucky, after the game, you get a lot of games in a short amount of time. Samford's played 3 games since Friday. Today's Tuesday's recording. Our deal is we got to get better every game. We got new guys. We're young, an inexperienced group right now. Every game we have to get better. That's the key. So, yeah, just what we've been talking about. Getting these new guys to kind of gel and seeing how you kind of stack up against this higher level competition after the game. It's hard to find teams like this to play against. It helps us test well physicality and financially as well. So, yeah.
Hey, 37 points off the bench, 32 points in the paint, not getting out rebounded. Huge takeaways, I think. Huge takeaways. With that said, we were joking before we recorded. Do not expect this kind of game against Arizona. If Michigan State has national championship potential on paper, Arizona has NBA finals potential on paper. Like, that's the disparity between these two rosters. Michigan State is very good. Arizona is elite. If we play like this against Arizona, the expectation is not to lose a single SoCon game ever, which is not going to happen.
Bucky did mention Arizona. I keep reading his quotes, but that's just in post game. We'll take this tape, learn from it. We'll try to correct the mistakes. Hopefully, when we face Arizona in a big game in December, we'll correct the mistakes. So, to your point.
Hey, if we shoot better from 3, I mean, we didn't shoot poorly, but we didn't shoot well tonight. 34%. If Trey Fort hits a few more threes, maybe the Arizona game isn't a complete blowout. We'll see. Yeah. That game is going to look a whole lot more like Purdue last year. But you never know.
Yeah, so is this the last time we ever play Michigan State unless we're like matched up against them in the tourney?
Grant, like the best moment of the game. So, we start out, it's like 21-7 or whatever. Izzo's losing it over on the sideline. They go on that 20-point run. They take the 10-point lead. Camera pans over to Izzo. Izzo takes a visible deep breath and exhale of just, okay, we're good. It's all good now. Just we're totally relaxed. And at that moment, I was like, there, ever, ever, ever again. And I can't blame them.
Yeah, shout out to Martin Newton. Bucky said after the game that Newton was the one who called Michigan State to schedule the game. So,
thank you, AD Newton, because that was a fun one. I mean, even though we lost, it kept you engaged the entire time. Even when I thought we were about to get blown out, we kept it tight, fought back, and tried to make it a game late. So, very, very enjoyable $8 game that I had to pay for, because we live in the ultimate nickel and diming age that needs to frankly end. And they gave you ads. I'm sorry, but if I'm paying for a game, I don't need a 15-second ad every time I refresh because your app glitched and ads in between.
You know what was the most frustrating thing? I paused it for like 5 minutes at halftime to cook dinner.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't let me fast forward through the commercials to catch up.
You're joking.
Guys, like, my phone's blowing
That's
up.
happened, yeah.
You guys are texting, and I couldn't look at my phone because I didn't want to know what's going on.
Sorry, Mike.
Eventually, I set that up with it, but I just backed and started live again, and I missed like 3 minutes of gameplay.
That's so – it's – oh, my goodness.
What'd you make for dinner, though?
Little Atlantic or Pacific cod.
Okay.
Wow, look at you.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Chef Mike over there.
Yeah, halftime. Come over to your house for halftime. But
the Peacock thing sucks. How do you pay? How do you pay for a game, and then they get paid on top of you paying for the game? It don't make sense. The math doesn't math.
At least we're not a Big Ten fan who has to make sure we have it.
Yes, we are normal Americans with ESPN Plus that has the real leagues in this country. Not this number 4 in the country, Indiana BS that we all have to witness. All right, so let's get to a little preview of the on-campus multiple team event, not tournament, multiple team event, which is always just so funny to me.
Good job there. Yeah.
Thank you. We're not going to go too deep into North Dakota State. If we don't beat them, season's over. Wrap it up. No, I'm kidding. But we aren't going to go that deep. And then the one team that's intriguing in this multiple team event, I just
MTE.
That's so bad.
Yeah, MTE. Yeah,
is
MTE.
Utah Valley. Utah Valley's kind of a squad. So you got North Dakota State, Utah Valley, and West Georgia. We'll talk about West Georgia next week because we don't play them until Friday. So our recording schedule lines up to where
hope that goes better than football did.
It better. I didn't even look up what their net ranking was through 6 games, but my goodness, if we don't beat West Georgia, if our basketball team has to extract revenge, but that's next week.
Okay, yeah, sorry.
North Dakota State has a 251 net, and Utah Valley has a 142 net. I didn't look up what ours was. Ours probably didn't change that much. Probably still in the 100 or in the between 100 and 150, or what was it, 80 to 150, somewhere in there.
Yeah, I'm looking. Yeah, I'm looking up. It gave me last year's. Like, I don't need last year's. I need this year's.
Yeah,
sorry. Go ahead.
No, but the 4 guys on Utah Valley. Funny enough, I did not identify Texas Southern's dude. What was his name? He was a big man. Well, I lost it. But of all the people we pointed out, that was not the guy. We didn't have that guy on the list who ended up having 30 or 20-something points. So with that said, the leading scorer for Utah Valley is Dominic Nelson. He's a guard. And then Tanner Toulson. So those are their 2 big guards. Do most of the scoring. Tanner shoots 38% from 3. Guy's good. Good 3-point shooter. Their 2 big men, though, Ethan Potter and then Hayden Welling. Not huge. I think they're 6'9", 6'10". Hayden Welling, boys, 55% from 3, and he hasn't just shot like 3 times, right? 55% from 3. So if there's an X factor for Utah Valley that can make this game very interesting, is they got a Brownell of their own in Hayden Welling. So those are the 4 names to watch. They played here. I have their schedule pulled up. So they're 2-1 as of tonight, the 19th.
Yeah, they played Western Colorado on the 4th, and then UTEP on the 9th. Won both of those, and then lost to North Dakota by 6 last Thursday. And
that one result is giving me hope that it may not actually be a game. Because North Dakota, they are a 245 right there with North Dakota State in terms of the Ken Palm. So not exactly healthy competition, and they lost. But Utah Valley, I mean, a win against UTEP is nice. Western Colorado, I'm assuming, is D2. Never heard of them. And then they have Murray State on Friday. Murray State, obviously, great basketball program, or a great mid-major basketball program.
John Morant Racers.
So depending on how that matchup goes, I think should dictate our expectations for the game. At the moment, I'm feeling good. If they come out and beat Murray State, who just for comparison's sake is 91 in the Ken Palm, it's much higher. That would not be. I would feel a little bit more nervous about the game. But boys, any thoughts on the multiple team event? Should be a snoozer. NTE should be a snoozer, but you never know. Utah Valley, not bad.
Yeah, I think it should be a little bit better than last year's MTE that we had, but still, just imagine going to Utah Valley in Orem, Utah, to come down, spend your Thanksgiving in Birmingham, Alabama. That's pretty shocking for them. But
that's the sad thing, dude. It's over Thanksgiving. Like, these guys, hopefully Samford treats them right. Hopefully
or Cracker Barrel will treat them right.
Yeah, what are they catering from Birmingham if they really want to treat these teams right? It's a good Thanksgiving treat.
Not Nicky's West, unless they want a little side of E. coli.
Hey.
What's that story?
Hey, allegedly, no.
That was my senior year, worst moment ever. Oh, there's this great meet and three, Nicky's West, and it's a legendary place. I'm sure it is for 99.9% of the visitors there. Not for me. That's a good question, Mike. Your dream Birmingham Thanksgiving. What's your protein? You going barbecue?
Maybe like a smoked turkey from Saul's. Think they do that?
Oh, they should.
I
They
bet
should do that. Yeah, that's
I
good.
bet
Yeah,
they do that.
Sanford sponsored. Good job with that one. Yeah, that's a good one.
Dang. Best
Yeah.
mac and cheese. Do y'all do mac and cheese at Thanksgiving?
Yes.
No.
No. We don't either, Mike. I
Oh.
always vote we should.
That's a southern thing. I mean, we're from the South, but
Yeah, guys.
You got a little Michigan in you. You got a little,
I'll get a
little Yankee. So great. Y'all do mac and cheese.
Bet those Yankee people were upset last week. Yeah, we do mac and cheese. Yeah.
What happened last week?
Yeah, what happened last week?
Last Tuesday. Yeah, I'm pretty sure maybe they're upset about that. But
2 Tuesdays ago?
sorry, I forgot. Yeah,
Oh,
2
my-
Tuesdays ago. Sorry, 2 Tuesdays ago.
Okay,
Yeah,
we're moving on. So,
yeah.
best mac and cheese in Birmingham. I like this question. This is a little sidetrack before we get to football. Who had an incredible win, but too little, too late. Best mac and cheese in Birmingham. I think I have one that y'all might not expect.
I'm not gonna lie, I loved the Calf's mac and cheese. On Fridays when they had like fried chicken Fridays, and they always had that mac and cheese with like the baked cheese on top.
Okay, Fried Chicken Fridays were actually pretty good. That's true.
Yeah.
But the mac and cheese was top notch.
Yeah. My favorite was Johnny's in Homewood. I think it's still there. They had great chicken tenders, fantastic mac and cheese. Grant, your favorite mac and cheese in Birmingham?
Yeah, Johnny's still open. That's a good question. Saws does test it.
Yeah, all the barbecue places are good.
Yeah, all the barbecue Saws, Martin's too has really good. Yeah, pretty much all the barbecue places do have pretty good mac and cheese. Jim and Nick's another one as well.
Yeah. Okay. Last Thanksgiving question: if they're catering, so far we got some kind of mac and cheese, smoked turkey from Saws. That's a no-brainer. If you're going turkey, I've always said we should have steak. This is America.
Yeah. Sucks.
Dessert. What dessert? I know exactly what I'm getting and where I'm getting it. But what is your catered dessert for these poor saps from Utah and North Dakota and and Carrollton who have to spend their Thanksgiving in Birmingham?
We've been to Carrollton. I'm sure they'll love it here. That's a good question.
So savage. I agree.
Yeah,
But
we've been there.
that was a great little Irish pub we were at, Grant, though. I like that place. Good Guinness.
That was, yeah, sorry. Yeah, sorry.
And
I'd like to apologize to the people at Carrollton.
cheap.
That's a good question. I don't know.
This is the only dessert I can think of
I thought, yeah.
in Birmingham, but I'm going to go with Moe's Mississippi Mud Pie.
Good stuff. Good
That's good
choice.
too.
Yeah.
Good choice. Grant, what's that bakery in Homewood? This isn't my answer, but they have fantastic desserts and even better cheese biscuit and ham sandwiches.
Heroes Donuts has,
No, it's on that main
Good.
drag in Homewood.
yeah, I know what you're talking about.
It's a cute little, like, old bakery.
Yeah, dang it.
I'm blanking on the name. I would go there all the time.
Yeah, someone add us if you're thinking
But if you
of it.
wanted a cake or cookie for your Thanksgiving dessert, that's the place to go. I'll shout it out next week. But where are you going, Graham?
Savages and
Savages, yes,
Savages, yeah.
yes.
I'm not
Great.
really a big like dessert at a place, but there's a dessert in at Urban Cookhouse at the Summit. It's I forget what it's
cookie?
called. Yeah, the cookie. Yeah, the cookie with the
Yeah.
ice cream. Yeah.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, I'm a sucker for anything chocolate chip cookie brownie with ice cream. So
It's like my wife, Mike.
Maybe some orange rolls from what's that spot in Homewood? They close?
I know what you're talking about.
Is it
Those were,
Urban Cookhouse or Urban?
that was Urban Cookhouse, no?
Was it Urban Cookhouse?
The orange
yeah,
roll?
Urban. Yeah, Urban's got orange rolls. Yeah.
Yeah, they give you a little orange roll on the side. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, what tops both of your answers? Salem's Diner banana pudding. So good.
It's probably good.
So good.
Haven't had it, but that's
You can
probably
taste
a
it
good one.
right now. You can taste it right now.
Cool.
All right. anything else on Utah Valley, North Dakota State? We kind of just, we'll see what happens. There's your analysis.
Yeah, should be 3 wins and move on to South Carolina State on December 5th.
Yeah, which should be a 4th win. Okay, state of the SoCon. Football, keeping it real as they rolled over the Mocs. But too little too late. The saving or the silver lining here is we ruined UTC's chances at a playoff spot. The SoCon is, I think it's officially a 1-bid league this year. Western and UTC were the only ones maybe to get a bid along with Mercer. But UTC got trounced and Western just isn't getting the love that they probably deserve. It's interesting. I looked at the Sagarin ratings, and Mercer, Western, and UTC are all right there together. So the analytics love those 3 schools. The polls do not, even though the committee did have Western or Mercer in their top 10. Probably looking at a 1 big league. But Samford beat UTC thanks to either Samford's elite defense or UTC's putrid offense. We were joking before, but guys, I gave you all that stat. UTC had 350 yards of punting. 350 yards of punts. That's they only had 177 yards of offense. That's insane.
We scored 36 points, 14 from special teams, but 36 points.
I was about to say, you look at the stats, and you're like, all right, so Quincy, he threw for over 300 yards, but only had 1 touchdown and 1 pick. It's like, where did we get all this score? And then you go to the rushing. No one rushed for over 100 yards. How did we score this many points? Special teams, baby.
Special teams, special players.
Help me out, Grant. Rice had to return.
Yeah.
Who else? Was it Rice both times?
No, it was Will Thorley on the fake field goal, basically a speed option on 4th and 8, took it to the house.
That's right.
Had the Aussie toting the rock and taking it to the house with his touchdown, yeah.
How did I forget? I mean, it is 11:30 at night, but dude, that fake field goal was epic. UTC was like, what just happened?
What's going on? Yeah, but Quincy was Offensive Player of the Week for the SoCon, by the way, too. So,
yeah, he played a great game. But still just weird. 1 touchdown, 1 pick. Again, though, too little too late. Who knows what we'll do against Western? Who cares? Furman beat ETSU. Trey Lamb kind of the train is falling off the tracks there at the end of the season, losing 24-21. Western over VMI 58-28. Citadel over Wofford 30-17. Interesting. And then Bama rolled over Mercer 52-7. The final slate of games, Western coming to Homewood this weekend, ETSU at VMI, UTC at Austin P, Furman at Mercer. So that UTC game at Austin P, I think, was getting some kind of recognition. Well, maybe not. They're 192th in the Sagarin. There's no way they were. I must just be misremembering. So at Austin P, playoff changes are probably nil. Furman at Mercer, Citadel at Clemson, and then Wofford at South Carolina. We're not going to witness a SoCon shocker this weekend, are we?
I'm just glad you put South Carolina and not that USC crap you pulled on me a couple months ago.
Well, they are USC. Just like Tennessee is the real UT. I mean, I'm sorry, but when your state and university exist before the entire part of the country even came together as a part of the United States, you get the naming rights. In fact, there's a lawsuit that settled this. I'm pretty sure University of South Carolina won. Do I know that for a fact? No, I do not. But there was litigation over this issue.
The more you know.
Playoff outlook, Mercer with the auto bid. Crazy that we're a 1-bid league, but we saw it coming. I mean, we talked about it this beginning of the year. Samford, we thought maybe 2 bids. Samford and whoever the champ was, if it wasn't Samford. Talent-wise, we got 2 top 25 wins. We also have 2 sub 200 losses, or 3. So
2-0 against top 25 teams, and
we are
2-6 against everybody else. Sick.
All
I need
right.
to I need to send this to y'all, but Trey Lamb had some great quotes after they lost. He's like he's a quote god basically when things go wrong.
I'm
Someone
sure
asked him about
he
his
does.
quarterbacks this year. He's like, I really botched it all year long. I was like, this guy's awesome. But yeah, I need to send this to you.
He is an incredible coach because that team is not really that talented. And they certainly looked more like we probably thought they would look at the end of the season. But kudos to him. With playing, I mean, he got through an entire season without a quarterback and had a winning record. So, congratulations, Trey Lamb and ETSU. You limped into a fairly good season, but no playoff berth.
Yeah, but just think what they're going to do with that $4,000 NIL donation from old Darius Rucker.
Hey,
have him a real quarterback next year.
Oh, that was a great tweet. That was incredible.
You never know, Mike. You never know.
Never know.
I'm going to donate. He said he was going to donate every money. Good God, it's late.
He's going to donate every money.
He got to donate every money those ETSU bucks up there. Yeah, he said post game, I'm going to donate this amount for the amount of time I spend on the field just lip syncing, not actually singing the song. I was like, this is awesome.
It's just a joke on a joke on a joke. ETSU is a joke. All right. State of the Bulldogs. Grant, take it away. Women's soccer. RIP.
Yeah, soccer season came to an end after making the NCAA tournament. Of course, they get matched up. It seems like every time Samford Sport gets to the tournament, they have to go to Tallahassee and play Florida State. Like that's just the way it goes with the location. But yeah, Florida State ended Samford season 8-0 was the final score. So Samford finished 12-7-3, getting back to the NCAA tournament after missing out last year, avenging their loss to Western Carolina. So yeah, soccer season ended at the hands of the defending champs in Florida State.
Yeah, they're pretty good. They're pretty good at soccer. Women's volleyball. So we beat UNCG and Citadel to end the season. Mercer capped it off to win the regular season. Guys, our ceiling is champs. We could very well win this tournament. Mercer ended up 14-2. One of those losses was to the Bulldogs. We got Citadel in the first round on Friday, who we ended the season with. We beat him 3-0. So should be a first round dub. We'll see how it shakes out from there. But volleyball, I mean, look, I'm feeling good. It's tournament time, baby. It's tournament time. Grant, women's basketball. End it.
Yeah, women's basketball picked up 2 wins, finally getting to play at home. Good Lord. A brutal non-conference that they're playing after going to Memphis, Florida State.
They got their cash.
There you go, exactly. Playing Mike's Volunteers. They picked up 2 wins this past week. Fisk on Sunday afternoon, then they beat Montevallo a Tuesday 11 a.m. game, which is awesome. You get the local students from Homewood get to come watch that game. It's pretty cool. So they beat Fisk 112-61, Montevallo 87-71. They're at Vandy on Friday, then they're at Tennessee Tech on Sunday. One highlight, well, other than the wins, obviously, is freshman Claire Johnson. She had 12 points against Montevallo, 18 against Fisk. She led Samford in scoring in the opener against Tennessee with 13. So again, a true freshman leading Samford right now with 11.5 points per game. So shout out to her for her hot start, her first 6 games of her collegiate career.
Can we call her CJ? CJ.
I like it. There you go.
Stud.
Yeah.
Absolute stud.
Yeah.
All right, boys.
So,
we got a little break from basketball until the MTE. And I mean, it looks like women's volleyball is going to be the only team playing any consequential games. Obviously, football wraps it up solid. People do need to show out, though, for the last game. A lot of these seniors love the senior class. We'll talk about them next episode, but it will be senior day. Samford ends it against Western Carolina, and a little revenge. I mean, last year's Western game was so annoying with the rain delay and the subsequent butt kicking that they proceeded to do. So we need a little revenge there. Put all playoff hopes, hammer the last nail in their playoff hope coffin, because there is theoretically a chance. But yeah, other than that, we got women's volleyball, football. Anything else really happening, or we're just all kind of biding our time until after Thanksgiving for basketball to pick back up? I think that may be the case.
Yeah, I think just getting to the swing of basketball. Close, tough loss tonight as we talked about you've had chances to win, didn't get blown out, covered the number, but still you were still close to finding a way to kind of sneak out if you obviously flip a couple things. But
Samford Sports, what could have been? So with that, everybody have a fantastic week. Go Bulldogs, beat the Catamounts, and come on volleyball. See y'all next week.